your journey not being so long, but being over a couple of days as well, what do you guys eat? Well, how exactly do you get your nourishments and so on?
Well, as much as we'd like to have a line out, like fishing for mahi and so on, unfortunately we're going a little too fast. So we're not at trolling speeds, you know. So like him, like Wayne, we also rock the freeze dried. It's also just a simplicity of food preparation, you know, when you're going those speeds, and ultimately it is a race boat, and you know, you bring on a cooler of, you know, of fresh fruit and oranges and apples and some grapes and so on that you can snack on and so on, because ultimately, I don't know how many of you listeners have had freeze dried, but it's, let's say, not the most, you know, you need some Susie's hot sauce to spice it up a little bit, let's say. But yeah, freeze dried is simple. You just, you know, boil some water. You know, we have a cooker on board, just to boil water, and you just pour it in, wait 10 minutes for it to hydrate, and then you're doing it. So it's literally, you regard it as food and not something that you really want to eat, but you know, that's just part of the deal.
Have to eat it.
You know, and you know, and that's it, and it becomes just part of the routine in the day of when you eat it. Just like the watch system, you know, you're on board. We're sailing, and you know, we had 5 on board for this trip, but you know, I was off the watch system. I was running on, you know, on both.
Okay.
And the team that we had on board, you know, Tommy Loughborough, Cy Thompson, who's from the USVI's, good friend of mine, Justin Schaefer, who helped this project happen, and we also had Travis Rice, who, in Antigua we don't snowboard, but you know, he's a known snowboarder, but who really enjoys sailing, and I've had the pleasure of sailing with him.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
2 things to like.
Yeah, no, exactly. I have the same thing. You know, when I try and balance my sailing, I like to go to the mountains and snow, and it's to find those. You know, you have to find a balance in life, and he has the opposite. And it was very cool to have him on board to experience sailing and come to Antigua. So
does everybody have a specific task on this boat?
When we're sailing, and that's the whole idea of this platform, it's so efficient, but you sail it ultimately short-handed. You know, it's in a monohull, you of an equivalent size, you could be sailing with anywhere between 8 and 12 people. Here you're happy enough to sail between 4 and 6. So everyone ultimately, even though you are foiling, and these guys hadn't foiled before, they're driving, you know, trimming on the pump. So this when you're on board and in your watch system, there are only 2 people on deck. So one guy is driving, and one guy is on the sheets, the ropes that control the sails.
Right.
You know, and anytime you need to do a maneuver, depending on the complexity of the maneuver, if you just need to furl a sail. So furl a sail means roll a sail up because there's a big squall coming.
Right.
You know, and you want to make sure that you're safe and you're not overpowered. You can do that with the people that are on deck. You know, the guy who's holding the sheets can give the sheet to the helmsman. He goes on the pedestal.
Right.
You know, to drive the power of the winches, and they can furl it. And by themselves, they don't need to wake anyone else up. But if you need to throw in a tack or jibe, like change direction, or actually change a sail, you would then wake up 1 or 2 of the guys that are down, you know, sleeping, and you come up on deck.
So in essence, 2 persons can primarily sail this boat by themselves. Okay, all right. And what's day-to-day life like, man? I know you said that, you know, you have a system where it's a watch system on and off. You sleep, 4 hours and then on for 4 hours? How does that work?
I mean, the watch system we ran was, you know, 4 hours on, 4 hours off. It's a pretty simple one. A lot of times you can switch it up, that you do your, you know, 3 watches of 4 hours in the day. That gives you 12 hours of daylight. And then at night you switch to 4 watches of 3 hours in order to shorten your night watches, where your concentration, you could be tired and that kind of stuff.
Right.
To do that. We didn't run that, but what happens is that if you don't do that, you get guys that end up always getting what we call like the graveyard shift, so to speak. Like the 2 till 4. Sorry, the midnight till 4 watch, which is a difficult one. No daylight at any point, but and sailing down, ultimately, you know, like you're in that system, but most of the time, even when you're off watch, you want it to be up on deck. It's so, like, foiling's cool. The boat's smooth, flat, silent. The wildlife we saw coming down, the sunsets, you know, it really is boiling it down to the essence of why you want to go sailing offshore. Yeah.
Okay. And what sort of wildlife, you know, what do you see out in the water?
Out there we had good, we were hoping to catch some whales on the way down. Maybe we were sailing a little fast, but no, we had good dolphins, and we had the most fun with, and I don't see boobies in Antigua that much, but, you know, about 200 miles back when we were northeast of, like, St. Martin, we had one booby stayed with us the whole day, just gliding on, the updraft that we have from the boat and the sails. And we then realized the reason he was doing it wasn't just to get a free ride, but we were teamwork on him getting flying fish. And we had the most fun watching this thing, just hanging up in the updraft of our sails, and we would be scaring the flying fish in front of the boat. And then it'd be full dogfight. Like, this guy would be diving down, catching these things, chasing through the waves. And we, caught some film and hoped to be able to get that out. But it was just so much fun to see them use the boat to their advantage, and and super fun. So, I mean, one thing we can talk about ultimately is, and that's with any high performance boat in the ocean, is the one thing though that there is risk is of hitting something when you are foiling.
Right.
And you have it even on monohulls. The consequence is a little different, and we have things in place here of when you do it, but it's something that's ultimately out of your control. But the one things that you do hope is that you don't hit an animal or something that's floating. We have so much debris in the oceans nowadays.
Oh wow.
Like, be it containers or logs or whatever it is when you're doing those speeds at night, for example, and you can't see something of not hitting it. But that's something you just roll the dice on and have
it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Excel Expeditions.
So that's my long-term plan, to basically get back on island with the family. I had the pleasure of growing up here, as a kid. We sailed here when I was 3. Okay. I now have a 3.5-year-old and a new daughter, and Leilani. Right now they're up in the States. We were based there in Newport for the summer, getting this project line. But Antigua is where we want the family to grow up. It's the beach life, the community, the culture, and that kind of stuff is. I experienced it firsthand. This is where you want to have your family grow up. So it was, with what I'd done professionally, what can I bring back to the island and help sort of promote Antigua and actually stand behind. And that's basically, ultimately, it's the lifestyle. What we experience here in Antigua, people ultimately can't. And it's making sure that, for me, it's based around water. So whether it's kiting or stand up or free diving, it's getting people out on the water, not because they're coming here to just come on holiday, but anytime you go and visit a place, if you go and do it, in a small group with locals, it's experience. Yeah, exactly. and that's what we want to share. So it's definitely, that's nothing that's happening. We're here at the boat show, and we hope to meet people in the industry and so on, and sort of talk to them about what we have in the works. And there's nothing that's happening this winter. For us, this winter is fine tuning that experience, because we definitely want it to be a high in the experience and so on. But we want to make sure that when we do it, we understand there's a lot of work and effort required and teamwork in order to get something like this working. So we plan that next winter we'll basically be ready to get people to really experience Antigua.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for coming and joining us here this morning. We really appreciated the conversation, and we wish you all the best in all your endeavors. And we're looking forward to having you here again on English Harbour Radio.
Thanks very much for having me, guys.